Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Night One Shots with Gehenna Gaming. I am Ian E. Muller, one of the co-founders of Gehenna Gaming, and tonight I'm very happy to be taking the player seat and handing things over to our guest GM or storyteller, since this is a vampire game, Emily Thomas. Join-
Yeah. Oh,
Joining me this evening, I have Ellie Collins, Cynthia Marie, and Erica Fassett, and we will be doing part 3 of our V5 Vikings Saga, which I'm not going to butcher the pronunciation of that word. So, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Emily to introduce the scenario and kick us off.
good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be, it's Götterdämmerung, if you don't know German at all. If you've seen the previous one-shots, you might recognize a few faces. In case you haven't, you'll go ahead and introduce your characters. Bjarni.
I am Ian E. Muller. Tonight I am playing Bjarni Odinson, the Viking Jarl of a small, or maybe not so small anymore, uh, Norse village in the coast of Norway, with his coterie of Einherjar, his salt wife Fiadh, Yahima, and Kara, who is rejoining us this evening after a slumber.
Fiadh.
I am Fiadh. I am the Jarlskona of this group. Fiadh is a gangrel of the mariner variety, and I'm excited to be back.
Yahima.
Hey everyone, I'm Cynthia Marie. I'm going to be playing Yahima, who is a immigrant Taino Indian from Puerto Rico. So pardon me, I'm going to be using a Spanish accent because we don't actually know what they sound like. So for distinction, I will be using that accent, but really excited. Yahima is a Tremere. She has a couple of other things up her sleeves that I just talked to everybody about, so it should be kind of fun. I'm excited to be here. She's just kind of the ritualistic blood witch around.
And Kara.
Hi everyone, it's Erica. I am playing Kara Haraldsdottir, and I am a Macavian seer who serves as an advisor to the Jarl Bjarni.
So, with everyone introduced, just as a heads up, it will feature horror themes tonight, might get intense, but we hope you enjoy us as you enjoy this as we go through Götterdämmerung. And so we begin. Night rises in Fosskeell, the hidden village surrounded by trees where Bjarni Odinson and his Einherjar have dwelled for, at this point, hundreds of years. It's the end of the 11th century and the world has begun changing. In the years since the fight with the dragons and an ominous encounter in a church, you've continued building your hamlet into a middle-sized city with a couple thousand kine following the leadership and under your protection. As the moon rises tonight in Fosskeell, how do you start your evening?
Fiadh is probably early to wake up, and she gets up, checks that Bjarni is in the process of waking up.
Bjarni is old and of very high blood potency. He rises later than any of the others.
And so she is going to go into the main hall and just take a seat at the table and start kind of prepping for everyone else to get up.
Fantastic. And make sure you all do your rouse checks so that we can get our hunger on the board.
Helps if I have my dice.
It is a help. You have so many.
Good.
All right. Yahima, what are you doing?
I am just awaking from my slumber and realize that I am just a little bit hungrier. And I am going to look for Fiadh, as she has a bit of the taste that I'm looking for this evening.
And Fiadh is used to this, so she sees you come out into the hall and just waves you over.
I apologize for having to do these with you all the time, but I truly appreciate your donation to me.
Of course. That's what we're here for. And
And
she
she's
will
just
offer.
just gonna go in and take a nice little nibble just to bring everything back down to a level.
Yep. And I will go up to 2 for that.
All right. And Kara, how are you starting your evening?
I am starting my evening off great. I don't wake up hungry. So I am already casting my runes and trying to get a feel for what tonight will bring.
Fantastic. Are you trying to trigger a premonition or are you just casting your runes?
Why not trigger a premonition?
Fantastic. Go ahead and roll your rouse check and your Auspex plus. What is it? Auspex plus.
I think it's a cold.
There we go.
Rose. Three successes in a rouse check. Good there. And now for premonition. It's flying everywhere. All right. Double. 3 successes.
All right. So as you trigger your premonition, the vision of the world around you fades out. And it just is black. And then as it brightens up, you can see a half full moon above white, bone white trees with eyes all over them and red, blood red leaves. 3 women stand in the center of the grove, and as you watch them, they join together at the legs and then at the torso, suddenly becoming a woman of 3 faces, 6 arms, 6 legs. They stare at you and they look at you. And one of the women has sky white hair, shining eyes, embedded in a carved face, and she beckons to you, "Come to me where the sun meets the trees when the moon wakes." And as your vision fades of these 3 women, you can see around you. You're back in your city. You're back where you started.
Kara will definitely take some time to digest that vision and wait for Bjarni to rouse himself before she speaks to him.
Fantastic. And with that, Bjarni, how are you starting your evening?
A short while after everyone else rises, Bjarni awakens, kind of stretches, and smells the air, trying to get a sense of what's going on around him. I'd actually like to make a wits and awareness check. Use heightened senses.
Absolutely.
I passed my rouse check, so he is not hungrier, but 2, 1, 2, 3. That will be a 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 critical success.
All right. With heightened senses and with that 9 crit, you can hear the sounds of the city have changed from what you used to have. It used to be the sound of looms. It used to be the sound of fishmongers. Now, though, there is a greater sense of busyness. There's traders, there's merchants. You can hear and smell and practically taste the smoke in the air that has come with 200 years of development in your city.
I will just take a moment to think about that, how he feels about that, and then rise, strapping on some of his armor and grabbing one of his axes, exiting the chamber he sleeps in. Just still an underground cavern.
Yes.
Beneath the city.
Yes.
And just walk out. Any news this evening?
None that I know of. Unless maybe Kara has some idea of what's going on.
How to put it? It is. Whew. To go to where the sun meets the trees while the moon wakens, I believe. Yes, go to where the trees wakens. Do not know quite what it means, but that is the vision I had of 3 women joining together to become one.
That
Always
was
in threes. Threes. We are 3 women. Are we going to join together?
I think we are pretty well joined right now, but I am interested in what this means.
Maybe more will unveil itself to me. But
One
right now
can
I
hope.
must. That's why I must contemplate what it all means, and hopefully it become clearer. It has been some time since I've awoken, and now with these visions, I must hope that it will make more sense as time goes on. Maybe the longer the night goes on, it'll become clearer.
Understandable.
For anyone who has dots in survival, you may roll a wits and survival check to see if you can determine where the sun meets the trees when the moon wakes.
Would heightened senses apply?
It would not. It's more about natural knowledge than
Okay. Oh, that's fine.
3 successes, 2 successes. 4 successes. Bjarni, you know that the sun meets the trees in the west when the moon rises in the east.
Yahima and Fiadh are preoccupied. They're like, oh, sounds interesting.
If y'all had all gotten 2, I would have let you have it anyway. Bjarni got the most.
I'm just gonna sit here and like just to take my herbs and just go with the herbs.
I share that.
All right.
Perhaps 3 women, 3 Norns. I'll leave it to you.
Oh, the no dear.
Norns. So that's like the maiden mother crone for you.
No, not the same as Maiden Mother Crow. The Norns, they are the weavers of fate.
Ah,
You have Verdandi, Skold, and Erd. One measures the string, the other cuts it, and the other, I forget, weaves it, I think. There are many different ways to explain them, but essentially they guide your past, present, and future.
I have something
only
similar.
they-
It makes sense.
And only they are the ones who decide when your thread of fate is snipped. But I
Huh.
believe it is Erder who has the white hair, which maybe it was the Norns, maybe it could be Erder. Maybe it's Erder.
But I believe our threads were cut long ago, and that's how we got into this mess in the first place.
Or this is just part of what's supposed to happen. It's a part of our tapestry.
Perhaps so.
Who knows what the fates have in store for us, but we must go ever forward with courage and without fear.
Always. Thank you, Kara.
Use yours.
And so deciphering the meaning of Kara's vision, what would you like to do?
Bjarni, do you know about where we should be going?
Not should. Have I sent? I typically would send scouts out during the day,
Hmm.
just to keep an eye on things, burned with any interesting news or updates for me about events and invaders.
Of your scouts at this time, all but one has returned.
Uh-oh.
I'll check in with them. Where is Bjorn?
Bjorn, because I don't have a copy of your ghouls. I'm assuming Bjorn is one of your ghoul scouts.
Yes, one of the main three.
Yeah. So Bjorn, you sent north. And he returns with news of more cities converted to Christianity. Some at the end of a blade, some at the end of a torch, and some at the end of a pile of gold.
What news from the east?
From the east, lots of ships, more so than were in previous years, large ships that appear to be bringing men dressed in silver and gold and leather.
South?
From the south, your scout has not returned.
Perhaps we go south then.
All
At
right.
least to find our lost lamb.
Sure. So going south, whoever would like to, if you'd like to gather anything before you go ahead. You may go ahead and do that.
I will probably disappear for a few and gather up all the material that I need to start doing my wards and rituals. So it might take me a little bit longer, but as soon as we're there, I will follow the group.
I will gather general packing supplies, like encampment things, and I will take 2 empty water skins.
Tara, do you wish to bring anything?
All I need are my rooms and my socks.
It's good to have warm feet when you travel.
No, socks. It's a small ritual knife. Socks.
Oh, not socks like the thing you wear on your feet.
I go barefoot everywhere. No, who needs socks? Can't feel the earth in socks.
Unless the ground's wet. Bjarni?
I would just gather my normal gear, weapons, his armor, throwing a bearskin cloak over his shoulders, regardless of the temperature, and wait for everyone else and see if they need anything from him.
Sure.
Fiadh is also going to quickly go out into the forest area, just gesture to the others that she'll be right back. I am going to just grab a nearby deer to feed and go down on hunger.
All right. Fantastic. Did anyone else want to hunt before you leave? Or call someone to your chambers to feed on them?
I will actually do so. I will gather the remaining 2 ghouls that make up part of my main warband beyond the coterie, and as well as call my familiar, Mulus, the raven that I have, to me, just to stay with the group, and then I will actually head up into the hamlet, and I will hunt and feed from someone who's not familiar to me, if there are any travelers in the city.
Sure, yeah. You walk to the eastern side of town where there are more ports, where the ships come in with traders. And you're able to find, I won't make you make a hunting roll for this, you're able to find very quickly someone who wants to kowtow to your rumored leadership and offers themselves to you as a gift of goodwill. They are drunk at the time.
I will pass on that.
Okay.
Rolling. Bjarni would prefer to keep his wits about him, and also if they are willing to serve him, that could be useful. I'm looking for someone uninterested, perhaps not of the faith.
Okay.
Are there any Christians?
Yeah, there are any Christians around here?
That's
There
the
are.
search you're
I want to
doing.
kill them.
Sure. Roll a wits and awareness for me.
All right, heightened senses.
Yep. Yeah.
Five.
Okay, so there are a few monks that are in town that have traveled in an attempt to gather history and convert followers. There
Perfect.
are also a few Muslims who have made their way here.
I don't bother the Muslims. I will go and I will. How many monks?
It's a traveling group of 4.
I will kill all of them and feed on one of them until he is dead.
All right. They don't have much of a fight to put up. One of them does have true faith that it does bother you a bit, but you handle it pretty swiftly. They're not fighters, they're preachers.
I just gone.
Fantastic. All right. And having slaked a large portion of your hunger, you gather your group together and you begin to head south. You know the route that is usually taken by your scouts when they go south. And you know that often they will leave marks behind, stacked stones as a sign of passing and to mark trails. Go ahead and roll a wits and survival check to see if you can spot the track that was taken. Whoever would like to do so, or whoever is leading the group.
What are you asking for a roll? I'm sorry.
For finding the trail that the scout took.
What skill set are you looking for?
Oh, with survival.
Oh, yeah. You
I'll
probably have
bite.
more than I do, but
I'll bite. Why not? 3 crit.
3 crit. Bjarni, what did you roll? Or did you? Okay, you left it up to the. All right, with 4, you're able to see that you get past beyond the normal bounds of where he goes. He usually only goes a certain distance. With the 4 and the 3 crit, you start to see other footsteps as well. And you can see based on the tracks that he was following someone. Do you continue following the path?
I am real quick. Hold on, rouse check. I passed. We're good. I'm going to shape change into a stoat,
Okay.
and I will follow the path through the brush.
Okay. I will allow you to add another die to your checks because you will have the sense of smell of the stoat.
Yeehaw.
And yeah, so as you're following, he keeps going and he keeps going. You're well beyond the route that he normally takes in his scouting paths. Is everyone going with Fiadh, or are you letting her continue as a stoat alone?
you're following her.
Yeah, following at a distance.
Okay, got it. You keep going. As you travel further, there's a smell that hits your nose. Burned herbs, the scent of metal, that's been heated on an anvil, smoke. The senses of a stoat would normally turn you away from this type of smell of a camp, essentially. The smell of offal and of things left behind by human interference. You come quickly onto a place where someone obviously camped. And though you're off the trail of the scout, it is much closer than people normally would camp to your city. Not often do they come this close and you not know about it. The scout's trail continues. And after a point, you start to hear the sounds, metal on metal, the sounds of talking, the smells of cooked meat and bread and oats that are cooked and made for eating. Would you like to continue?
I am going to rush to the group and in my chittering little stoat self, stand up and hold up my paws to stop them. And then I am going to take off towards the encampment where I can stay hidden. And just kind of slink around to get a mind for how many people and do they appear threatening? Like, do they look like warriors or do they look like campers?
Absolutely. So at first glance, they appear poor. They have poorly made weapons on them, axes that look like they're made for wood cutting. Go ahead and roll a wits and awareness.
While she stops us, I will send my raven up to just circle up from and observe from the sky and come back if he sees anything unusual.
Got it. And 2 successes. There's something odd about the way they move, but there's nothing in the camp that looks inherently threatening. There are too many of them, though. It's about 30 or 40 kind. And you can see they've started putting up a couple of wooden walls, some of the little, what are they called? Not palisades, that's the wrong word.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. The spiked pieces
Mhm.
of timber that are pointing out so that people ram their horses on them and don't succeed at getting into the camp. Those things. They have a name. I don't remember it. Do you remember it?
No, I wanted to do an action after.
No, yes.
Oh, okay.
So I would like to actually call over a raven towards me.
Sure. Roll a animal ken and I'll call it charisma. Unless you are using an animalism power to do it.
It's sort of it's more of a Tremere power.
Okay.
So I'm happy to roll it, but yeah, it's part of one of the powers I'm about to use, which is like part of animalism as well.
Never mind. Then if it is a Tremere power, go ahead and use that.
Yeah. So basically I'm doing what I've done before. It's Eyes of the Nighthawk. So I'm calling over a raven and I'm biting down on my finger.
Got
to
it.
feed it some of my blood.
Got it.
I take control of its eyes. And what I would like to do is basically send it into the town, and instead of surveying, which is what I'm assuming Bjarn's doing with his stuff, I'm actually going to go into the little town and go to the different windows and just have the bird like perch and kind of see if I can find Bjarn's scout. I would know what he looks like, correct? Or she?
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to like get the bird to go to different window areas and try to see into things.
Okay. So the buildings aren't quite as building. They're more tents, but they do still have windows.
Yeah, I figured.
In going from tent to tent, nobody pays much mind to a raven in a camp. They show up for scraps. They show up for food. The raven's eyes don't see anything in the camp. Roll a wits and awareness for the raven.
Sure.
And it is your mind, so.
Ooh. Ooh. I got 3, but one of them's a critical, so that would be 4 successes there.
Very nice. As the raven goes from tent to tent and looks into each window, eventually there's a flash, not in the camp, but a movement outside the camp, maybe 50 feet out of the walls that they've been building.
Can I get the bird to investigate a little bit more in there?
Toward the movement or toward the
Yeah.
or inside the camp?
The movement.
Okay. Going towards the movement, what you do see is Bjarni's scout, who appears to be continuing to watch the camp, gather information. He doesn't appear harmed. He appears to be doing his job and just was caught doing his job further away than he intended.
See, so I'm going to call the bird back.
Fantastic.
Does the bird return? I'm assuming it does.
Yeah,
It's under my influence.
yeah, it does.
Totally.
So I gently coax it down. I thank it for its services, and I basically snap the neck, grab the eyes, and crush them.
The bird's throaty call ends quickly as you end its life.
Yep, I needed those eyeballs.
And what would Fiadh the Stoat like to do?
Is there any food visible in this camp?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of pots with stew in them. There's about 4 different campfires, some of which are smaller, and a central campfire that's larger. The smaller campfires have a couple of people roasting sausages and cooking bread on in hot Dutch oven type things, like those hot cast iron pots. So there's absolutely food visible.
Okay. I'm gonna try something maybe stupid.
Love it.
I am going to put on airs of being very feeble, very malnourished, and just slowly crawl towards the people cooking the sausages. I want to get a feel for what kind of people these are.
Manipulation and subterfuge.
Gladly. Gladly. That is going to be a 4 crit.
Oh, nice.
But just very like
Yeah.
and
It's like in cartoon pet movies where they pretend to die.
yeah, just very shyly going up to the people cooking the sausages like I want to see if they're the kind of people that would feed a poor little wild animal, or if they shoot me.
they don't have any bows on them, but they speak in a language, and although it's not a language you actually, do you know Frankish?
Like old German?
Older than that.
Then no.
Okay.
Fiadh is only just now worldly traveled.
Got it. They speak in a language you're not familiar with, and you can see them gesture to each other. And you recognize the gestures because you've seen people do this 1,000 times with wild animals walking up to camps, where they go, you could see one point to the other, you can see one laugh, and then you see as one of them gets up and just sort of, not violently, but sort of shoos you away with their boot. And it's not a nice boot. It's a poorly made boot. It's got a leather sole. It laces up.
I'm going to quickly run up his pant leg, bite the back of his knee, and then run off.
Okay. Let's call that. Let's call that Dex and Brawl.
I was gonna say, is it Dex and Brawl for a stoat?
Yes.
I just fuck this guy. Fuck this encampment. All right, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, yeah.
5 successes.
You manage in that quick motion as he shoos you with his leg to jump up and just get a nice bite out of the back of his calf. It's like when, when a kitten attacks someone, you got those very sharp teeth and sharp claws, and you can hear him scream, ah, and he just kind of shakes his leg to kick you off and goes to as another person gets up and goes to hit you with
I'm
club
booking
that's
it.
nearby.
I'm absolutely
Oh
booking
yeah.
it. And I'll go kind of the opposite direction of where our group is to circle through the trees and come back around up behind them, and I'll change back.
Got it. They don't chase you. They seem more interested in getting a
They're tired
stoat
of me.
off their food than actually killing a stoat. But they did appear to have a lot of food, which is not normal for just people felling timber in the woods. So you have that information, and there's nothing obviously, there's no piles of timber in the camp outside of what's being built for walls.
Okay.
And you are able to circle back to your coterie without any issue.
I'm going to relay that information to them and just give kind of, well, for one, they're not nice. For another, they're poor in presentation, but rich in resources, particularly food. Enough food to feed more than them. And it's large numbers.
Interesting that your scout Bjarni is also there.
What is he doing there?
It seems that he is still scouting for you, just further away than we anticipated, or you have anticipated.
Where was he?
He was by some of the I don't know what you call them here. The place where you were sleeping.
So he was about 50 feet outside of the camp so that he could keep out of the light.
Bad.
I figured I would help out to about the northwest angle of the camp.
Okay. I will follow me. And I'm going to circle to about where she indicated he was, and I can find him. If it requires stealth, I will actually use shapeshift.
Sure. It doesn't require stealth, but I would recommend stealth since it is a camp full of people.
I will actually use shapeshift then, or metamorphosis rather, and I'm going to shift into a raven and flit from tree to tree so they can follow me and make my way over there.
All right.
I do not get hungrier.
For those on the ground, go ahead and roll Dex plus Stealth, who are following Bjarni's raven form.
Man, the smallest dice pool ever. Oh, okay, not bad.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
So, Fiadh, you manage pretty well.
We're supposed to be
Yahima.
professionals.
Yahima, you step on a branch and you wait a moment. You wait to see if anyone's heard you. No one has. Kara, you fall pretty much instantly. You were looking up at the bird and you forgot to notice the root sticking out of the ground, and you just trip face first over things.
Fearful mob mode rushes to try and catch her.
Okay.
It was just 0 successes. It wasn't a bestial failure, right?
No.
Okay, sweet. But the camp doesn't seem to hear you. It seems like they're more interested in playing dice, eating food, drinking. It's nighttime.
Just don't mind the crazy lady tripping in the woods. Okay.
I think we're good.
Don't know, maybe.
Okay.
Did you actually say that?
No.
Okay.
And we'll continue our sneak around until we meet up with Bjarni.
Yeah. So Bjarni in his crow, or you said crow or raven? Sorry.
Raven.
Raven form, flits from branch to branch, occasionally "Rah!" trying to get your attention to make sure that you keep up.
He is familiar with this form by now, as I'm sure the others are too. It's like, there he is.
Like, I have no time for you to lose track of me.
Yeah.
And you follow relatively uneventfully. And eventually, Bjarni, you do see exactly where Yahima indicated your scout crouching behind some shrubbery and keeping an eye on the camp.
Okay. Much like them, the scout would be familiar with this form, and I just fly
At this
down
point.
and land on his shoulder if it won't draw attention to camp.
A raven flying down
And landing behind a bush.
50 feet away from fires. I would say that's far enough away to not be in light.
Okay. And yeah.
And you fly down and land on his shoulder. And he starts a little bit. He wasn't expecting you to come out. And he looks and he says, "Ah, my Jarl."
And I just peck his shoulder once, and then I take off again and fly back into the tree line. Or indicating for him to follow.
And he looks up at you and he shakes his head.
And I'll circle and I'll land again.
Something, my Jarl, something is not right with this camp.
I'm a bird, so I'm just going to wait for him to continue.
They have all the trappings of limbermen, of timbermen. Limbermen's a whole different thing.
I mean, they
have
could be
all-
both.
They could be limber timbermen. That sounds like a band.
Or they could be slender limbermen.
Exactly.
Slender.
It's a slender man made of trees.
Oh, goodness.
And he looks at you and he says, "Something is not right. They have all the trappings of timbermen, but there are too many of them and they are too well fed. You would normally see 2 to 3 men chopping limber, not dozens."
They are masquerading as poor people.
I'm not sure they're masquerading, Yazkona. I think I shouldn't say.
Please speak freely.
Well, I think they are a forward troop, if it were. Sort of, how do you call it? People, builders of bridges, builders of walls, important to military efforts.
So the kind of people that you expect to ford a river.
Yes.
I will land on the ground and then shift back as small and hunch down as small as I can because Bjarni's very large. And just forward scouts to make troop transit easy.
That would make sense.
You need to know where they are coming, where they came from.
That's why I'm watching them. I'm hoping that there will be someone in charge who shows up and gives them a bag of coin or brings them food.
But I'll glance.
Ara. Your gift. You can use it on individual people, yes?
Which gift?
The one where you can see many things. I believe you called it premonition.
Yes. So, in order to do that, Kara's kind of gotta psych herself up, get
Yeah,
into the right
Fia's trying to check if
mindset.
she can do it on a specific person.
I can try. The gift, it does what it wills sometimes. It might not hurt it. I might be able to see something. It's worth a try.
I understand. My quandary is I wonder if there's anything you can gather from any of these individual men. Someone that they have met with, someone who has previously lined their palm with coin.
I will ask the gods and see what they will show me.
Absolutely. Go ahead and make that roll.
Alrighty. It's going to be. Alright. Oh.
I believe in you.
That is 2 crit.
All right. As you focus, it's a little harder to find this one. There's something, you feel it, sharp, metal, a sword, a staff, there's coins, and you see a crown. Roll me, let's call this intelligence and academics. I don't know if you have any academics, but if you have it, include it. Okay.
I'm not an educated Malkavian in their cages. I didn't do my learning from notebooks.
You got 0. All right. It's a beautiful crown. It's got gold. It's got velvet. You don't recognize it. But there is a beautiful crown. You sense that there is a sword and a staff. It's harder to get this vision. Maybe it's the efforts of earlier in the night. And your vision comes back somewhat disappointing on this one.
I'm afraid if the fates were going to help us, they are not willing to lend their insight to me.
Understand there is probably much they wish for us to learn instead. Thank you for trying, Kara. It's very wonderful of you to try.
All right, was
As
there
it is.
anything that you saw?
There was a staff, a sword, and a crown of gold.
Of gold. Storyteller. I have some dots in theology. Would I recognize maybe a crown of gold in sort of a religious aspect?
Yes, you could. Let's call this intelligence and is it academics theology or do you have a,
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead
Academic.
and roll that with specialization.
One, two, three, four, five. Oh, 6 successes. Sorry.
Very nice. The crown that she describes to you sounds a lot like the crown of the Holy Roman Emperor, which would indicate the crown of the Carolingians.
The what? I'm sorry.
Carolingians, they're the descendants of Charles the Great.
Ah, I did like a whole history lesson here too. I love it.
Sorry, I made sure it was placed in history.
I love it. I love it.
And actually, with 6 successes, you would know the only 2 current descendants of Charles the Great are currently known as Odo the Insane and his sister Adelaide. I'm not kidding. I can't make up history.
So it seems that these the thing that you call it crown, is it? It is of the people that I try very hard to drive out of here. The what they call them? They are soldiers. They are almost conquerors. I believe they derive from very up north, but in more water-like setting. Roman, I think, is what they call them.
Yes.
Romans are making their way down.
How many see in the encampment? I look
Well,
back and forth between Fiadh and Yahima.
Probably 30 to 40.
I didn't take account, but there seemed like quite a bit.
More than a general encampment.
Your scout answers at this point and says, "My Jarl, there are at least 37 of them."
Literally, just he's mentally doing math and whether or not he can kill 37 soldiers.
I can see it on your
And
face.
Fiadh already is noticing it. Bjarni. Cannot slaughter an entire encampment. We will learn nothing. How close are we to water?
Do they?
From where you are, you've traveled not quite directly south from the city,
Mhm.
but you're probably about a mile from the coast.
A good walking mile, or
Depends what form you're in. But
Uh-huh.
it is definitely it's a mile of woods and then water.
Right. Should we check for boats?
Go check for boats. I'll turn to my ghoul. Do they have any scouts? Anyone exiting the encampment regularly?
I have only been here for a few hours. I'm not sure yet.
Go back.
I've been trying. Oh, sorry.
No, we'll continue. If
I've-
he continues speaking, Bjarni stops.
I've been trying to keep an eye out on anyone coming or going. For now, it looks more like they've been building. These walls came up over, half of them came up today. And you can see, looking at the camp from where you are, it's not fully encircled, but there are walls, about 20 to 30 feet of walls around the tents.
How tall?
Give or take 12 to 15 feet. Obviously, it's going to
Okay.
vary because of timber.
Okay, then I will definitely.
It's not fully encircled. I do want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
It's just a section that they've started.
Return to home. Tell the Viking guy to prepare. We will deal with this. Meet us here. It'll take him a
Yes.
little while to go. It'll take him longer to go back, collect the rest of my war banding here.
Yes, Jarl. And he leaves and starts going back pretty similarly to the way y'all came. Very stealthily, though.
Bjarni, what is the plan? What would you like to do?
What I'd like to do is burn this entire encampment to the ground. What I
And
think
then
we
we learn
should
nothing
do
again.
is take 2 of them and kill the rest.
Which two would you like?
I've been watching. My Raven is still circling and surveying. They've been in the camp. Which 2 seemed the most important? most learned?
There is, maybe not learned. That might not be the right word to use.
Not sure.
But there are.
The question really is: are there any who appear to be more tactician than the rest versus just foot soldiers?
There are two overseers, and they appear to be working in shifts where one will be overseeing for about 4 to 5 hours, and the other will come and take over for 4 to 5 hours. And they go back. They do share a tent, so there's like a somewhat larger tent that appears to have a nicer entrance. It's waxed in a better product, so it's got a bit of a shine to it compared to the other more cheaply made tents. Yeah, and that is what your raven would be able to communicate to you.
Fia's gonna stop Bjarni real quick. Maya Kushle. Whichever one you choose to take, fine. But the second one, if you will hear me, take one who looks weak, who looks what's the right word? We just say runt back home. Take the runt. They're more likely to give information out of fear.
Agreed. I gesture towards the tent if we can see it from here. If we can't, I'll describe it. Take one of the ones who appears to be relatively in charge, and then someone who avoids the fighting.
So,
take the most pathetic one.
From where you are, probably the most pathetic one out of the group, because this is basically an Army Corps of Engineers. Like, this is a bunch of people building bridges.
Yeah.
But every Corps of Engineers needs a chef. So there is one who is not as strong as the rest of the timbermen who are building walls, who appears to be cooking for the entire camp. And he's the one who's been stoking the fires that have the food under there and making the stews and turning the sausages above the fire.
Hey, is he the one that kicked me?
He is.
Oh, get his ass. Get his ass.
We will keep him for questioning, yes.
I'd like to help out with the stronger one. I have ways to have somebody come with me without force.
Okay.
I will leave that to you. For the other, I gesture towards the cook. Kara.
Yes.
Can you make him listen to you?
Make him listen to me. That is not my specialty, sir. I can maybe make him a little less mentally stable.
I will accomplish what we need. If you can deal with those two and take out anyone who gets in your way, I will deal with the rest. Yeah, and I will deal with the rest.
All right then.
So it will probably take about an hour for your scout to travel back to the city, about an hour for your scout and your Vikingar to travel to the camp. In that time, if you would like to go ahead and start nabbing people, we can go ahead and start on that.
Frankly, I was just going to start killing people.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I am real quick passing my rouse check, and I'm going to shape change into a wolfhound.
Love it.
And right beside Bjarni, start ripping apart people.
So the thing about engineers is they're not the greatest fighters. You do take a couple punches, a couple of hits, but it's not long before the entire camp is slaughtered. I'm gonna roll something real quick. just to find out something for funsies. I will need you. Are you avoiding the central fires or the different campfires?
I
Yeah.
I am avoiding the campfires, taking them out closer to the tents, so that I can come up under the cloth of the back of the tent and go through the front.
Okay. So you're
Uh,
able. Oh, sorry. You were saying.
I will only avoid them in as much as I can't ride the wave and control the resulting frenzy, which Bjarni does right. So
Got it. So you work your way through this camp of builders, and they are strong. You will go ahead and take, let's call it one superficial damage just from people hitting back. But you do end up slaughtering as many as you would like to slaughter and can feed on as many as you'd like to in the process. How careful are you being that you're not killing the cook and the overseer?
very.
Okay.
in fact, this is in as much a distraction to let Yahima and Kara nab them as
All right.
it is just killing everyone here.
All right, Yahima, Kara, how are you
Organized chaos.
nabbing? How are you nabbing people in this blood and fire-soaked chaos?
Oh, this is very easy for me. I find the smart project person who's like commanding everybody, and I slowly take off my hood. Excuse me, I am a little bit lost. Is it possible that you can help me? I seem to have misplaced my compatriots. And as I'm doing that, I'm casting Mesmerize, and I'm going to have him follow me.
A question, are you going for the one that is out of the tent or the one that is currently in the large tent?
The one that is not near too many people seeing me do this.
Okay, the one in the large tent would be a good option then.
That one.
Entering the large tent, it is very basic. It's Spartan, as it were. But there is a table in the center that has build plans and that also has maps with markings on it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's where my brain was at too. So as I'm speaking and like kind of trying to get this person, actually I can issue complex commands using Mesmerize. So I'm going to ask them to kindly come with me and bring the plans.
He says something in a language you don't understand, but he does what you.
It's like, wait, hold on, I have a thing. Can I like back that trolley up before I do that? I actually have a thing.
Do you want to grab one of the tongues from one of the recently dead bodies and learn the
Yes! Somebody knows the powers. Yes, I would love to cut a tongue out.
I'm a language nerd. It's my thing.
Nice. Yes, I would like to swallow that and try to like for a second like see if I can understand what's being said and then go proceed to the person to mesmerize them.
Most of what you catch in the chaos and bloodshed is holy shit, holy fuck, there's people killing us. Fight back. But
accurate.
When you enter the tent, he does look at you and his eyes are he looks starstruck. He was not prepared to fight against vampiric domination. And he says, oh, of course, ma'am, of course. And of course, because you now understand his language for, I think it's 7 days?
Yes.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. It sounds completely unaccented. You know exactly what he's saying. He knows exactly what you're saying. And he says, yes, ma'am, I will right away. Are you here from Fabrizio?
Yes.
Wonderful. I guess he needs to change some plans. And he follows you out of the camp.
Excellent. I just literally just walk with him.
He walks with you out of the camp. Kara, how are you taking the chef?
Oh, well, I think I'm just gonna go up and start trying to converse with him before hitting him with a dementation.
Fantastic. What are you making him see?
Oh, just not. I'm gonna say dealer's choice.
Okay.
I'm just gonna sit there and be like, "Hi, I'm just a creepy looking lady who came out of the woods. I'm talking in a language you don't understand, probably." And boop.
You are correct in that he understands a couple words, but he clearly isn't a fluent speaker of Norse, so he clearly doesn't understand what you're saying fully. But you can watch as his eyes sort of unfocus, and suddenly, from being startled by all the chaos and bloodshed, he seems to not even see it anymore, as you send him on a vision of a path following a beautiful young man out of the camp.
He.
And he follows you, dementated. Is that the past tense verb?
Whatever works.
Under the power of dementation. And yes, you are able to very easily remove one of the overseers and the chef from, it might be, stop. You're very easily able to remove them from the camp with very little issue, as Bjarni and Fiadh slaughter most of the engineers. How would you like to proceed back, given that you have also gathered your Vikinger? Ian, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry, we will not be going back. We will be moving a fair distance from the encampment, where we can interrogate the two that we have captured, while my Vikinger, who are mostly ghouls, will burn it to the ground.
All right. So as you walk away from the camp, Yahima, the overseer that you have taken has also brought with him maps and bridge building diagrams, essentially, and wall building diagrams, essentially the instructions for what needs to be built, as well as the maps appear to have markings about where they need to be built. I think you're muted as well.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna wait for everybody to gather again and show them the plans and see what my Jarl would like to do.
All right.
Once we moved a safe enough distance where any large flames will not incite frenzy, I'll instruct the Vikinger to proceed with destroying the encampment.
I'm still a wolfhound,
Perfect.
just covered in blood.
I will sit down on the ground, cross-legged, and just rest my hand on Fia's neck. Where? And I just look at both of them. Sent you here. Soon the cook is just terrified.
The cook doesn't seem to understand what you're saying. The overseer, a light of recognition flashes in his eyes. And then he says, Odo.
Yahima, you're muted.
Muted again.
I repeat back what he says.
What language are they speaking?
They are speaking Old Frankish, which is like pre-French.
Bjarni would understand it, but probably not be able to speak it very well. Just because of being adjacent. And,
Yeah.
And raiding in France a lot.
Yeah. The chef just doesn't understand you at all.
That's fine. In halting Frankish. Ooh. Where does Odo hail from?
Odo is the king.
At that, Fia's gonna growl and lean forward.
Here I am king.
The overseer, there's a look of confusion. And he says, perhaps not long. Like he's trying to keep it simple
Yeah.
a little bit.
What is your intent here? Like, what were they planning?
My intent, how do I word this? Because infrastructure is not a word they used to have.
Building.
My intent, build roads and cities.
And what if the people here do not want this? Then what would you?
Pay or kill.
That is
Fiadh
what I
will
thought.
growl again. Fia's kind of feigning like Bjarni is holding her back. She's kind of doing the little
Gotta hold me back, bro. Gotta hold me back.
because she's still in wolfhound form, so she's kind of doing the like at the end of the leash, like lunging at them. She's not like fully going after them, but kind of giving them a like. "Argh."
Yeah, and I'm just playing it up like if I take my hand off of her, she's going to tear them apart.
They did just see me eat their whole camp, so
I take out some herbs and kind of hold it in front of Fiadh just in case to like maybe if she wanted to calm a little.
Here's my St. John's wort collection.
I will actually.
I'll nuzzle Yahima a little bit.
I look at Yahima. Is there anything you think we should ask them?
I believe that they have plans here to build more than we want, so I doubt that there's any other question that we need to ask, except for that we need to find their king.
When would more of you be arriving?
He just laughs. We're here.
Where?
He tries to think how to simplify it because the map he has is mainly infrastructure. It doesn't actually show where the military encampments are.
Yeah.
And so he looks and he thinks, he says, on roads and boats.
Everywhere.
And he laughs again. It's hearty. And then he says, well, not yet.
I lift my hand off of Fiadh.
I am going to lunge at him, not with intent to kill, but intent to. Anyone who's been around a wolfhound knows them landing on your lap is not great. And I am going to land with both paws on his junk.
And he just falls over and just clutches his stomach.
And I'm going to look at the cook and just growl expectantly.
And
I go over to the gentleman and I kind of like lock eyes again to keep my mesmerism going, and I say, there's two ways we could do this. You could be with our wolf here, or you could show me where your people are. And that is a command to show me where your people are.
Oh, thank God, a fluent speaker. Well, for sure. Well, my people are dead, but you mean the
Who
encampment?
is your commander?
I answer to Fabrizio.
Where's Fabrizio?
Last I heard, he should be further south. There's a landing. I don't want to die for him. I just want to live and feed my kids. There's a landing, there's an encampment. It's just on the coast. He runs everything from there.
Just on the coast. Would you be able to show us where that is at?
And he
Answer wisely, otherwise you will be of no use to us.
he thinks and he looks around. The maps. I can show you on the maps.
Proceed.
And he looks at the map and he takes a second. And it's not a great map. Like, maps weren't great back then. He looks at the road and he follows it down. He marks here. We're here right now. Right? And he's pointing to a smaller road that offshoots from what appears to be plans for a larger, almost highway at the time.
Mhm.
And he says, right, so you go this way. And he points east along the road. And then down here, and he points, and there's a dot, essentially, that all the roads seem to lead to in the end.
I will rip my thumb open on one of my fangs and just smush a bloody thumbprint in the spot where he said we are here. And mark it.
All right.
Okay. So, question for you. This is more of a mechanical. I have
Yeah.
a ritual that I can do, illuminate the trail of prey,
Okay.
where like I can find the previous whereabouts of a designated person, which I probably should have done that for our scout, but you know, life. Is it possible, even though I don't know Fabrizio, is it possible to be able to do this sort of ritual on him?
Let me check.
I believe you need to know the person.
Target must be
That's
known
fine.
by face by the caster.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. So again, I will ask, will you be able to lead us, or will you not be useful anymore?
Yeah, no, I could be useful. It's
Is
I-
he just trying to save his own at this
Yes.
point? All right. I am just going to underhandedly whip a dagger so it just sinks into his throat.
as he expires on the ground.
And now
The
you
chef
shall
is still
feed
there
me.
as well.
And I'm just like,
And
and now you shall feed my children. And then I just turn and look at the cook.
He doesn't understand what you're saying. He understands
I haven't said
Yahima.
anything.
He's just panicked.
Ask him how many people are in the city.
How many people are in your city?
For my clarity, are you asking how many people are in the camp where Fabrizio is placed, or are you asking for how many people might have infiltrated your city, Bjarni?
Good question. That I will ask next, but I meant where Fabrizio is placed.
The chef, he looks at you and he says, I would be guessing. I was there and then I was brought here.
Just
Maybe 1,000.
So about 1,000.
It's a lot.
how many of his people are in our home?
I'm a cook. No one from this camp was there. We're builders.
About to be a dead cook.
Fiadh is
can
going to change back in front of him.
I can make a fantastic rabbit and barley stew if you give me the chance.
And Fiadh will change back to human and grab him by the scruff of his shirt.
Ah! What's that?
Yahima, my dear. Ask him, would he recognize his own people if he saw them?
Would you recognize your own people? if you actually saw them or not.
Are you asking about his leadership?
No, like if he
Or-
saw fellow Roman people, would he recognize them, since Romans did have kind of a distinct appearance?
Yeah. Probably. If their dress, maybe the way they act.
I
They
think
eat different. They have spices. You don't have spices. They haven't made it here. We brought.
I break out the herbs that I like have.
we have spices. We have Yahima.
Yahima, the spice for this group.
I literally just look at him like he's an idiot and think of literally the entire Norse trade route. And
Oh
go,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I think, my love, if you will allow me, it would be useful to have a cook who is a coward. And she looks to Yahima and goes, "Don't translate that."
and I just snap my fingers and gesture towards one of my ghouls to come to us from whatever they're busy doing at this point.
Yeah, and by this point they would have made it there. You can see you're probably 100 yards off, just for a good distance away from a burning camp. And you can see the light in the distance as they walk towards you. Yes, my Jarl.
Take this one.
And kill him, or
Take him back to the city. Have
Ins-
him. Go ahead.
Instruct him to cook a feast for the entire city in one night. And if he can't do it, kill him.
I love the Rumpelstiltskin nature of it.
One more thing, if it is okay with you, my yarn.
Hmm.
I like cut my finger again and I hold it out to him for better measure. Take a sip.
Of
My blood.
oh, okay. And he takes a sip of your blood.
Great. Now I know you won't turn on us.
Now I just need to know you can cook.
Yeah. So what's happening? Am I cooking now, or
You will go back with our people and you will begin cooking immediately. You have until sunrise.
oh, okay. How many people?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Our people like to eat. You're going to cook as much as your little fingers can do.
And you just watch as his eyes widen as he has no idea what you're saying, but he can sense the tone is a threat.
I imagine Yahima is translating at least the basics of everything.
Yep, I'm just giving the threat line.
Yeah. And if you complete the task, you will be given a job and protection and welcomed into our fold, and you will no longer want for anything.
What about? I have a friend.
What friend?
I have a friend that he's home.
Interesting. Well, if you can carry out this task, I will make sure personally that your friend is safe.
In exchange, should you see any Roman features in our encampment, you're to report it directly.
And he looks at Yahima. I understand. And like kind of just looks back and forth between all of you.
Good. We have a little security camera.
And I think, did you want to do anything else at this location? All right, then that seems like a really good time to take our break. And we will be back, what, 10, 15 minutes?
About 10. About 10
Let
minutes.
this stretch, get a drink of water.
Yeah,
I will
absolutely.
name him Ring Doorbell.
So thank you everyone who's tuned in so far. We appreciate it. Thank you for all the subscriptions. Fantastic. We appreciate the support, and don't go anywhere. We will be back in about 10 minutes with the continuation of our game. And in the meantime, stretch your legs, get a drink, take care of yourselves. When we get back, it's going to get much more interesting, I am sure. Back.
Welcome back. Our coterie has made it back to their village after absolutely wrecking a camp of builders and taking one of the chefs and killing the overseer after pumping him for information. And that chef is going to attempt to make a feast to feed everyone. With that said, you, your Vikinger, and your coterie have made it back to Fosskeell. And what would you like to do? There's probably not too many hours left in the night, maybe 1 or 2.
I would like to get as much information about first of all, are we really making this chef try to cook a feast for the entire city tonight?
Oh, I believed it.
Okay, then
Oh yeah, no, that was 100%. She is Rumpelstiltskin this.
Good. I mean, that's a
She's
time-honored
not going.
tradition
So
and-
she's not going to kill him at the end.
no, but it's a time-honored
just-
tradition. And
it's
I
a-
hope not. That's my ghoul.
What Fiadh is trying to do, and she's probably pulled this similar fleece before, is she's putting this stress on him so that there's no possible way that he can be lying about what he's capable of. Like he will have to prove himself as a cook in a super high stress situation.
yes.
So there's no room for lying, and then give him a proper place. But this is
That's okay. So what I
Yeah.
will do is
this is her version of interrogation.
I will instruct my ghouls to watch, keep him on his toes, make sure things go slightly wrong for him, and see if they can get any additional information out of him while he's trying to do this. Other than that, I am going to go back to my to our haven, which is really just a large underground cavern underneath the city, and discuss what should be done with my Valkyrie.
Out of the military kitchen and into the restaurant. Similar experience.
Trial by fire.
Slightly, pun intended, a slightly larger group to cook for than he's been cooking for the last few months.
Nicer clientele.
Much nicer clientele. He does go straight to it. It is mostly stews. He doesn't have enough time to make a bread because bread in those times would have taken a day or two minimum. But he is able to throw together, in the time given him, a solid portion of food before you start taking your day sleep. He's not, in the hour left before the end of the evening, he's not able yet to feed the entire city or make a lot of progress on it, but he will be cooking throughout the day during your day sleep. And with that, we come to our second night of the session. Approximately this time of year, 16 hours later, the moon rises yet again, and you wake from your day sleep. How would you like to start your second day?
I imagine first we need to rouse.
Yes.
I just did. I'm
Womp.
successful.
Per usual, Bjarni will rise last.
I failed, so I am going to go out, check progress on breakfast, and then go get me a deer.
All right. So the chef, I'm going to roll something real quick.
I do get hungrier, so I'm back up to 1 hunger. But I assume I heal the superficial damage I took the previous night.
Nicely done. He just succeeds.
Nice.
He got 3 successes.
Just right under the bar.
Just made it.
I
He's
think
drenched in sweat. His face is red from trying to work. All he wants at this point is to survive. His fingers are getting blisters from having cut food for so long. But the humans in town have eaten bountifully from his fare. The reviews are middling to good. They're not, it's someone who made food for a military, but it's not bad food and it's not going to kill anyone. And that's the important part.
Sorry. An aside, I have the MASH cookbook, so that's just where my brain went to. Anyway, continue.
MREs.
Fia's gonna go over to him and just nod, and knowing that he can't understand her, she's going to be complimenting him, but also giving like some hand gestures. She's just like, did good. Very proud of you.
He hears the tone less than the words, unless Yahima, are you accompanying her for this?
actually, so Yahima is by the cook herself, doing something that not a lot of people have actually seen her do. And she's actually like just pulling together like some herbs, which looks normal, but she has a knife dangerously close to her hands. And she kind of just looks up and like listens to what Fiadh was saying, and then kind of responds over to the cook, and then kind of goes back to like really digging into her magic, because she is trying to conjure something real quick. I do have a couple of rolls I need to bake if you would allow me to do it.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Awesome. So it is a stamina and resolve. Let's see how it goes. I have 3 successes. So what I am trying to do is chop off one of my fingertips.
I was reading this ritual earlier.
It is called
Tomato.
Firewalker.
That's the one. What is the full process? And burns it together with their blood. So, yeah, difficulty 3. So you do win the ritual.
Yep.
So as you're working, the bluish flame consumes the fingertip. You do have. Are you casting it on yourself or on someone else?
I'm going to cast it on myself first, and then I'm actually going to go look at to Fiadh. Would you mind not necessarily donating your blood this time to me? However, I want to protect you. Would you mind giving your blood to me?
Of course. How much do you need?
I don't know. How much do I need?
It doesn't specify.
It doesn't specify. It's just your blood. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll say 1 hunger's worth because it says a golden chalice or bowl.
Yeah.
All right. And she says, yeah, and uses one of her rings to dig into her wrist and put it in a nearby cup, completely ignoring that the cook is probably freaking out at this. And licks the wound closed and hands the chalice to Yahima.
Awesome. I get 3 successes again on my next roll.
Okay, fantastic. Both of you are able to, I think it's just resistant to fire, yeah.
Yep. So I chop off my other fingertip, ring fingers. Don't necessarily need them too much for right now.
Getting rid of fingerprints.
Yes. If my Jarl does come in, I will offer the same.
And
he will come in shortly afterward, adjusting his bracers. He looks tired, if anything else, which is unusual. Just
I don't necessarily ask for his blood because we have a long-standing relationship of such things, and I just take one of my nails and just like pinch into him.
yeah, he doesn't even react. It's just normal.
I think I got that.
I need this.
Yeah, it's just he just knows it's going to benefit him in the long run. It's fine.
Yeah, I got 4 successes on that one.
All right. And
So
as with Fiadh and yourself, you are able to protect him from fire.
Yep. If Kara rolls up, I will attempt to do my best as well. Just losing all the fingertips right now.
Kara, how are you starting your day? You are muted still. That's all right. I can at least see the mute.
Try another premonition.
Okay. All right. Roll the rouse and then roll the appropriate dice pool.
Rouse check is good. Come on, premonition. Need more late. That's 2 successes.
Okay. Your vision fades out and you feel the power come over you. And you see a cross. And you see it's a St. Michael's cross, so it's upside down. or no, St. Peter's Cross. Sorry, wrong saint. I'm not as well versed as my saints. So it's upside down. And you can see there's a figure hanging on the cross. It does look to be the statuesque form of Jesus, lacquered in crimson red. And behind the cross, you can see a 13-pointed star. And it hangs on a breastplate, silvered, not made of silver, but silvered, that appears to be on the chest of someone in priest's clothes. You're not as familiar with the Christian traditions. You know that they have priests and bishops, but you're not as familiar with which one's which. And as that comes into view, it all melts into a red carpet rolled on a field and black shoes on them. And your vision closes, you come back, and you are in your town.
Knowing that Yahima has a lot more experience with probably other religions, since Kara doesn't really pay much attention, she just does her own thing. She shares her vision, like explains it to Yahima and be like, what does this mean? I know the cross, but the cross is upside down. And a 13-pointed star?
Let's see here. Let's see what I know. What's an academic or no, intelligence and academic, is that cool?
I would call this intelligence and occult.
Copy. That's even better.
Yeah.
Ian knows what I've done.
Bjarni. Ian.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes.
Okay. With 5 successes, you've heard there's a cult out there which seems to expect a messiah of sorts and follows a 13-pointed star. You're not fully sure what.
It seems that there is a I have heard of a cult following that seems to worship these stars. I don't really know what that means, but maybe our Jarl might know. Nothing.
I don't
I'm not
understand
familiar.
any of this.
I'm not familiar with these.
What about a cult in the area?
That's a good question. Do I know anything about any cults or non? Because this is something I would pay attention to. Non-Norse religious groups in the area.
Sure, absolutely. As mentioned earlier, there are Muslim traders who have made it this far north. There are also Christian monks that have made it this far north. There's a couple of Gnostics that have made it this far, who at that time would kind of be considered a cult, even though they're not anymore.
Yeah.
Other than that, because of the influx of Romans, there have been some influx of cults of Isis and cults of Dionysus.
Okay.
But nothing with a 13-pointed star to your knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, and Bjarni wouldn't particularly care unless they were actively trying to convert. Like if they're trying to convert people away from worshiping his gods, he wouldn't.
And Gnostics cared more about converting Christians to Gnosticism than...
Yeah. Like of all of those groups, only the Christians actually would have cared about trying to convert people away from the Norse.
Cult of Isis a little bit, but they're also...
Question.
Yes.
for any potential
Okay.
Christianity ties. Fiadh is Irish pagan, but did flee and was brought by Bjarni during the rise of Catholicism.
Yeah.
Though she's been away from it for a while, because she's been with this group, so she's been in Scandinavian territories. Would any of it seem familiar to her with knowledge of old Catholicism?
At that time, the St. Peter's cross would be familiar as an
Okay.
upside down cross with a saint on it. The 13-point star from where you are coming from would not.
And what would the St. Peter's cross mean to me?
There's a couple of beliefs about St. Peter's cross. It's a more modern belief that it is demonic, but it is an inverted and tortured saint, because crosses by the Romans were used for torture and execution.
Yeah.
Martyrdom. How deeply entrenched in Catholicism was Fiadh?
Fiadh wasn't in Catholicism, but it was during the rise of it, so she saw a lot of the persecution.
So you would have seen St. Peter's cross. It's usually associated with the Pope
Okay.
in historic Catholicism because of St. Peter and whole building basilicas and stuff.
Okay. I'll convey everything I would have known in case it helps. Unfortunately, that's all I got. Kara, can you repeat to me the vision that you had involving the three?
Kara will, kind of explain as best as she can remember. There was the grove of trees that were white. There was I think it was like blood drops. That's what you said, Emily?
Yeah, the trees were white and covered in eyes, and the leaves were crimson blood red.
And then the three women were in that grove of the trees. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of details, so I'm trying to remember it all from scratch.
What? White with bloody
And eyes.
and eyes.
Eyes. Like the notch, like the little knots in a tree, but each one was an eye.
with that detail, if anyone would like to make a wit survival roll.
Yep.
Yeah, why not?
Yep. Starting to have suspicions that I'm trying to parse between what my inner Malkavian discerns and what my
3,
Gangrel discerns.
3, and 1. All right. For Bjarni and Fiadh, what a tree that is white, has white bark and eyes, and whose leaves turn crimson red in the fall is a birch tree.
Mm-hmm.
And you are familiar with your forests, and you know that there aren't a lot of birch tree groves in them, but there are a few, and they are to the west.
There's a birch grove at Norns. And the Romans and the Pope. Popes and Romans, white and red as well. Eyes everywhere. I feel like we're gonna get nowhere fast unless we go to the birch grove.
I agree. Yahima. Tell our book, if you would, to assist And I gesture towards my main 3 ghouls, which is 2 men and a woman. Assist them in keeping an eye out for Romans who don't belong here.
I translate exactly that.
Because being a Norse city, there would be Romans who traveled here because they wanted to be here, and then obviously the ones who are spies.
Yep, absolutely. I was following precisely.
Okay.
So he nods and he looks at you, Yahima, and he says, "But how will I know if they don't belong?"
That is an interesting question.
Do you pose that to me?
Yep.
The ones who are more interested in helping their neighbors and learning our ways belong. The ones who are more interested in converting their neighbors to Christianity do not. Because they are trying to typically convert our culture.
I relay back.
So, missionaries or monks. I can keep an eye out for them. They usually stick out like a sore thumb anywhere they are. Would you like to say anything else to the chef? The cook, really?
No,
Not a
no.
chef.
I just think we should head out. I don't believe that we have time to wait for them to come to us.
And Yahima, you mentioned getting Firewalker ready for Kara. Did you go ahead and make those rolls?
No, I did not. Let me go ahead and do it.
I just wanted to make sure because I have noted who has it on them.
Ooh,
Uh-oh. Oh no!
only got 2, so that was
Behavior fails. Yeah, and when it fails, it just burns, and the smell of burning kindred flesh rises up, and there's no blue flame.
I'm sorry, Carter. I have failed you, but I will make sure that you are protected.
Sorry. Could you spend willpower to re-roll successful?
I don't. Is that a thing for the rituals?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. It's
Well,
just
then
like any
hell.
other discipline power.
Yeah, I think you only can't do it on like humanity rolls.
You can
Oh,
only
would you
not
look at that?
spend
I
it
got-
on.
I got 2 successes out of those, so
Hey!
boom! I
There we
can do
go.
it.
There we go. And everyone has fire damage halved. Just in case. Would you like to prepare anything before you start heading west?
Bjarni will place one of his warband in temporary charge.
All right. And it's just
And
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just the 4 of you, or are you taking anyone with you?
my main 3 ghouls.
All right. You're taking all 3 of your main ghouls?
My main ones, yes.
right.
The rest of the warband, I just place whoever I trust the most in charge. And then I will simply sharpen my weapons and get ready to leave.
Fantastic. Anyone else preparing or taking anything with them?
I'm bringing a bow and arrow.
I am setting up with a couple knives, and I am going to bring those empty water skeins again.
All right. Kara, anything?
Just the same Short sword I always carry.
Fantastic. So, as you set out west from the city, go ahead and make that wit survival roll for me to make sure you get to the birch grove.
Did you want all of us to do it?
Whoever would like to lead or whoever would like to keep an eye out.
I'm good.
6? Oh, yeah, I think you find it.
Yeah, I had a critical success. So Bjarni knows his area. He's lived here for 600 years at this point.
He absolutely does, and it shows. So as you are traveling west, the woods grow dense. There's evergreens around. There's cypress. There's a couple of other more northern trees, a couple of pines that grow in Norway. Not a lot of them, like 2 species. The trees start to change a bit. As you move closer, the trees get shorter. They get thinner, as is common with birch trees. The bark changes from a scraggly, rough brown to this smooth white. And you can see where the birch has peeled away, creating these eye-shaped bits of brown wood underneath the outer bark of the tree. And here, the leaves are still gold with tints of red. But as you continue deeper, it gets more crimson, more blood red. The birds get quieter. The squirrels get quieter. There's less sound than you are used to in this section of forest. And unaccountably, your ghouls seem more tired than usual. And as you keep going, it's perhaps 2 hours, and the papery sound of birch bark on the ground, rustling and whispers. And they start to open in a grove. And in the center of the grove, 3 surprisingly large birches compared to the other birches you have seen as you passed, where they usually have 4 to 6 inch wide trunks. These have old trunks, 40, 50 years, 12 inches, 18 inches around. They're massive for a birch, covered in eyes. And I would like anyone who would like to potentially notice something to make a wits and awareness roll. I love a 4. Fantastic. Bjarni, Fiadh, and Yahima. As you approach the trees, there's a house positioned up in the branches on a triangular platform with each corner on one of these central birches.
As soon as I notice the house, I'll stop my ghouls and I will tell them to move outside of the grove again and just keep watch.
At the base of the trees, those of you who got a 4 on your wits awareness, you see impressions of arms, hands, faces that appear to press against the bark, and at the very bottom near the roots, a body merged with the tree, a rotting apple in its mouth on each of the 3 trees. And on the platform that the house is stationed on, a young woman leans against a railing and smiles and drops a ladder and beckons you to come in.
I am immediately suspicious. People are not this nice.
Yahima just goes up.
Fantastic. Oh, I forgot to mention one detail. There are also chickens underneath the tree.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
In particular, ruled over by what appears to be a black rooster. Roosters are very useful. So Yahima, climbing the ladder, it is a rope ladder with wooden planks.
Mhm.
You climb, it's maybe 25 feet up. It is, like I said, these are old birches somehow. It is hard to imagine how they got this large. It is very rare. The house itself is wooden shingled on the outside, so you can see the layers of squares and the moss that grows where the moisture accumulates. There's a door that appears to have some sort of wool around the outside of it, so that there don't appear to be any cracks around the door, and there are no windows.
Can we see any of that from the ground?
You can see the house, and you can see that it's shingled, but you can't see the cushioning around the door.
Okay. Wait,
And you can see that there's no windows. Sorry, I should add that.
yeah. Well, I have trusted Yahima's counsel for centuries at this point. So when she simply heads on up, I will glance at Fiadh and Kara, nod, and I will actually, rather than climb the ladder, I'm just going to shift into a raven and fly up and land on the up there.
Oh.
Which I do not get hungrier doing.
He's always so dramatic. And I'm just gonna climb up.
As the four of you are now on the platform, the door is unlocked and partially ajar, and you can hear speaking inside the home. 3 women. One with a voice like old, dry paper. One who sounds bright and young. And one who sounds almost like she's in charge, with a nice alto of a voice.
Fia's gonna grumble to herself, not audible to anyone else. It's fucking Mother Maiden Crone, I knew it.
Yahima doesn't knock. She actually just kind of pushes the door in because she don't know about knocking on things. Pushes it aside and goes, hello? Greetings?
Ah, welcome, Bjarni and his Einherjar. You'll come for wisdom, which we gave freely. And as you look around the home, inside, there are glass jars, clay pots with lids on them, antlers and dried flowers, dried insects hung on nice rows of garlic.
Oh man, this is like Target for Yahima.
There's Yahima in particular would notice that there is a stacked bed, almost like a bunk bed in the corner, and around the base of it, a circle of blood on the ground, dried and old, brown. And you can see that the maternal woman, the middle-aged woman whose voice is like an alto, stands over a pot, a cauldron, if you will, and stirs something in it. The young woman is grinding something in mortar and pestle, and the old woman is holding a plank with her feet to keep tension on ribbon as she weaves maybe a 2-inch wide, intricate ribbon design.
How high up is the bunk?
There is one on the floor that is maybe 6 inches tall. It's clearly a straw mattress, not fancy. There is a bunk above it by approximately 3 feet.
Okay.
And one above that by approximately 3 feet.
So I'm gonna use my cat's grace, and I'm literally just gonna take like a couple steps and like hop up to the highest bunk.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna perch over and just kind of like overlook the process of what these women are doing to take notes. And I would stay kind of quiet.
And the middle-aged woman looks at you and she says, You know, if you need to sleep, we can provide that, but I don't think that's why you're here. And the old woman, seemingly not even paying attention, I called Odin here. He needs to know. While the young woman just smiles.
How much of all of that do I hear?
Have you entered the house?
I am right outside the door, which she has opened.
You would hear that. It's not, they're not trying to say it to be
Okay.
subtle.
I just wanted to make sure I overheard all the pieces there, particularly at the end, and I will shift back and walk inside. I was going to fly inside and just land and be quiet, but I'm full Bjarni. He has sent his descendant instead. And I will sit gently on whatever furniture they have inside.
Sure. So
Being-
what they have inside, they have not a lot of chairs. They have 3 chairs. They have a table. One of the chairs obviously is taken by the older woman who's weaving, but the other 2 are standing, which leaves 2 chairs available.
I will gently sit in one. Bjarni is aware of his size compared to most people, and just...
And seeing these women, Kara, if you have entered the house, the old woman with the shock of white hair who's weaving is the white-haired woman you saw in your vision. And the other 2 are the same other 2 women you saw in your vision. These appear to be the women who called out to you, though how is still unclear. And the old woman doesn't appear as attentive as she was in the vision. But for a description of the women, the young woman has a shock of red hair tied in a very loose braid. She has all the beauty of youth, maybe 18, 19, and all the perkiness that comes with youth, both personally and physically. The middle-aged woman has a belly that sags. Her body is one that has been through an entire life. And she has a face that's aged with smile lines and just gentle crow's feet at the corners. Her olive skin has freckles across the cheeks. And the old woman, clearly more tan in an earlier time, with copper-colored skin and that shock of white hair on top. She is hunched over, has a back bent like a cane, and years of weeping.
Kara probably respectfully approaches them as like, I saw you in my visions, and I have come.
And the old woman, still weaving, yes, we reached out to Freya. Hello. It's many years since I've seen you.
I was asleep for some time.
It happens to the best of us.
You have called us here, but for what purpose?
Ravens. Ravens getting a feast. And the middle-aged woman looks at you and she says, I apologize. Sometimes she doesn't make much sense. She's dipped in to the future and the past too many times. But we've had a vision for you. The 3 of us I've shared the vision, and I think perhaps I might be the one to tell you about it, but we can all help. Bjarni, I understand that you've lived here many years and never come to us, but that's all right. She looks at you with a wink and a smile. She knows your face without having ever met you before, and you don't recognize her.
I am not so. Bjarni, obviously, centuries of life and a healthy respect for the old gods have led him to already have made very strong assumptions about who these women are. And he just nods and accepts it.
And the middle-aged woman says, "We've seen people with strange runes, bringing silver and fire from the south. I expect you've seen them too by now. Ragnarok is approaching. I believe you know this too." And the old woman cuts in almost without missing a beat. And she's sort of rocking and doesn't even seem to acknowledge your presence as much as someone she thinks you might be. Bjarni went before, and hell comes after. One Eye, what do you think? And the young woman, hearing this, says, "Yes, we've heard that blood will end a legacy from our visions, and that Nidhogger's belly will soon be full." And the old woman, in finality, Odo's hands were bound by sword and staff. And the middle-aged woman looks at you and says, "Bjarni, we called you here because we've had a vision about you."
I am always willing to accept the wisdom of those who can see what I cannot, but I am afraid that I already know what you are going to tell me.
She laughs to herself, smiles. "Bjarni, this usually means war and blood, and the latter descends from the crown of Yggdrasil."
Or I can handle. I have fought many years to keep our ways safe. Those traveling from the south wish to change that, and I fear that there are too few of us to stop it anymore. Speak of Ragnarok. That time upon us.
And she squints her eyes a bit, and you can see Erther, the young woman, the woman of the past. "Ragnarok is always upon us, in cycles. It comes, it goes. And perhaps now it's coming. You must know." The middle-aged woman, who at this point you probably realize is Verdandi, looks at you and says, "It's important to remember that it's a cycle, Bjarni Odinson. Balder dies, Elder is born, Elder lives again.
Ia is going to walk over to the elderly woman
Mhm.
and kneel in front of her, just kind of sitting on her knees
Mhm.
in front of the woman. And with all the reverence available in her, she just says, Madam, forgive me for being ignorant in your ways of things, so I will address you in the way that I know how. As Ragnarok is a thing that we cannot stop, and we must weather and endure, how best can we be a part of this in a way that the gods need us to be?
And she looks at you, and her face lights up with recognition, and she says, Andeswelta, you've come back.
Back.
Of course. You went away, and then you came back. She has all the appearances of what we would now call dementia.
And Fiadh is going to turn to the middle-aged one and just say, you called us here for a purpose, not just to tell us Ragnarok's here, we know that. So what is our purpose?
You will be given a choice. And there will seem to be many options. There's really only two. And the choice is that you must die and pass into oblivion, or choose to ascend to Valhalla. That's all there is to it.
We will take Valhalla any day.
And she squints her eyes, and there's a look like concern, a maternal concern, one she would have for a child. And she reaches out and she touches your face. She says, I think perhaps you may come to regret that.
Maybe I will. But I know that when I see my last day, I want to be proud of what I did with it.
Well, if that is your choice. And what she does, she reaches behind her and she pulls out something, Yahima, you would recognize. A long piece of wood, perhaps an inch wide, 12 inches long, sharpened at one end, doused in blood. She says, I think perhaps your choice may be harder than you expect. Take this for safekeeping. And she hands you a stake of belated dissolution.
And she takes it, bows her head politely, and says, respectfully, where I come from, you, and she gestures to the grand, three of them, are called the Morrigan. This would be a gift from the Morrigan, so I fear not what you tell me. Thank you.
And she leans in close and she kisses you on the forehead. And she just says, travel safely and consider your choices wisely.
Yes, mother. And puts it into her satchel.
Do you have anything else you would like to say to the three women?
She will go to the youngest one and kneel before her and say, I have no grand questions of you. All I ask, as each cycle begins anew, as will with you, the world must always progress, but I fear for how it is progressing. So please steel yourself for whatever next cycle is to come. And she will walk back behind Bjarni.
Before you get up, she smiles and she takes your hands and she says, oh, I always watch myself. Watch her too. She gestures with her head over to scold the old woman, the woman of the future. We have to look out for ourselves, and you do too.
Thank you.
Are you ready to go? Did we accomplish what we need to?
Are you still up on the bed?
Oh, yes. Very much so.
Fantastic.
I
Keeping
will
it all in.
actually glance over at Kata. Is there anything that you need here?
I do not think so. I have done what I needed to do to bring us here.
Should we seek out these invaders from the south? Should we expect blessing? Or is it simply a trick of Loki's that we walk blindly in?
Or then they will chime in here and say, it's important to remember, Bjarni, Loki plays tricks, but Loki wins wars.
Loki plays tricks to wise of us to remember what those lessons are. Sometimes the lesson is that failure is avoided.
Not all failures are losses.
True. And as you said, Loki does win wars. Okay.
Before you leave, Yahima, Erther, you young woman, will look at you and say, oh, I've got something for you.
Yes.
Can you read?
Depends.
Just a second. And she takes a moment and she finds a piece of parchment and she makes a picture diagram of the ritual for Eden's bounty. And hands it to you. Use it wisely, you might need it.
Thank you. I appreciate your generosity. She's actually going to switch into her native tongue. So I don't know how many other people would actually understand what she's about to say, but I'll say it in English for everybody. basically she goes, I appreciate the information that you've given, but I believe not in Ragnarok and I believe not in your gods. So we hope and pray that this doesn't happen because I will be here to watch over it. And then she switches back and says, thank you.
And it's interesting because although she doesn't understand what you've said with your voice, I'm going to have her roll something real quick. I'm actually not going to have her roll something. I'm going to have Skuld roll something. Where is that? Ba-da-da. And if you would like to hide your thoughts, you are welcome to try that. Let's see. I need a lot of dice for this.
I don't know if I can hide my thoughts. Can I?
It is wits plus subterfuge if you are not a consenting individual. There we go. It's those numbers.
Oh, you don't have to roll very high.
All right. What's my differ?
I got one success, so.
She got 6 successes to read your mind.
Excellent. Let's do this.
While you were speaking. So she understood the intent, even though she didn't understand your language.
Mhm.
She smiles and says, well, I'm sure. Sorry, I can't remember what you actually said now that I was looking at my notes. You said,
The short version, I don't
believe
believe in Ragnarok and I don't believe in your gods.
fair enough. She says, well, you don't have to believe in gods to believe in us. We're as real as you are.
Then we are also mythical creatures, so that makes you mythical as well.
Everyone's got stories.
Yeah, Yahima just like jumps off the bed and just like smokes more of her weed or her herb and kind of like walks out.
Sure. As you leave the home of women who appear to be the Morrigan, or maybe the Nornir, trees around the house are just as red and white as you came in. As you approach your village, you do see in the distance, not close, maybe a mile and a half off, smoke rises to the south. How would you like to spend the rest of your evening? Also, your ghouls took some damage from that just because of the trees, but we'll get to that.
Are we out of the forest?
Yeah.
If you'd like to do something on the way, you can.
Oh, no.
Oh, then yes.
If my ghouls took damage, I will actively feed them to help them heal. And then when I get back, typical leadership, checking on everything, see anything, if anything has happened, if there's any news, any reports, feed.
The chef is passed out. He's had a long day. He's getting some sleep after 28 hours awake and most of it cooking. From the person you left in charge, they said weirdly they've seen less Romans today than even the day before. A notable absence, as it were. Not the Romans who have assimilated, but the Romans who trade or are trying to proselytize.
He is going to get Bjarni alone. Doesn't really matter where, as long as the general people can't hear them, and she doesn't want Yahima or Kara to hear this either.
Easy enough.
And she is going to hand him the steak and say, I still don't know shit about your gods, but I know about my Morrigan. And the similarities are enough. If I was given this is my death knell. And I want you to have it. because there's going to come a day in this Ragnarok, this end times, whatever we have. I will not die by any hand but yours. You killed me once, you can do it again.
Fair enough. And I will take the stake and slide it into part of his belt behind his back, and then he will kiss her.
And she'll kiss back and just say, "Don't tell Yahima, Kara. They'll try and talk me out of it."
Of course. We will see what the future brings. He says that kind of wryly. In the meantime, I fear that prepare for an attack.
I'll get with the troops and get on it.
And then Bjarni will check in with the Viking of the town, just say, like, be prepared. Don't be lax right now. I fear that we will be under siege or under direct attack in the near future, possibly even today. So.
And it's easy enough. Your city, it's fewer fighters by proportion than it used to be. It used to be all Vikinger, 60, 70 strong. Now, though, you've got more strategic setups. You've got bakers, you've got artisans, what you need to support a city. But you have, at this point, about 500 strong Vikinger that you can lead as needed with their different, effectively, generals, for lack of remembering the word. I'll admit it. I'm not a Norse expert.
And he just he knows that they know what to do, so he tells them to be alert and be ready to raise an alarm if the worst happens. And he will spend the rest of the evening prepping and doing that and checking on resources and if they do go under siege or anything.
All right. What preparations would you like to take?
He wants to make sure that anything that would be outside of the actual walls of the city is moved inside, if it can be. Anything, gates are unblocked so they can close them. Replenishing arms, checking in on all that stuff. Arrows.
What of the farmers that supply your food?
Making sure that they are made aware that they may need to evacuate into the city, but they also would obviously have stores and some crop growing capabilities within the and then also fortifying the port as much as possible, even though it is open. So making sure that there were plenty of spare armament there as well, in case anything comes in by boat. But yeah, basically anyone who needs shelter can make their way into the city, and then make sure everything is taken care of in case they need to fortify.
Got it. Fiadh, Yahima, and Kara, would you like to make any preparations? Fantastic. We'll go with Yahima first because she was nodding very vigorously.
Oh, yes. I think throughout the rest of the time, Yahima is left to doing warding circles around places that are needing to be protected. So she probably would have talked to Bjarni specifically of where we should have set these up. She's also going to set one up around like where she actually lives, like her home area, but then extend it out to other folks. So that's going to take her some time. There's a lot of roles if you want me to go for it, or
I would say with enough time, given your knowledge of blood sorcery, we don't have to make all those rolls. So instead, we'll say that it takes you about a week to get all the portcullises warded.
Cool.
To the port is obviously still open, and it's hard to make a ward that large. But you do ward the ends of the docks where people would have to disembark from a boat.
Okay.
And you are able to ward in that time about half of the houses. So you aim for the ones that are closer to the edges in the intents of slowing anyone down at the very least.
Okay. Would I encounter anybody while doing this, perchance?
When you say anybody, are you looking for someone in particular?
Maybe somebody that's like of importance, maybe like a higher up person that may like report to somebody. Only reason being is I have bloodstones typically on my persons and would like to be able to just like kind of like drop some bloodstones onto folk to see if we can track them.
Sure, okay. Most of the Romans have left the city, but given the nature of a large-scale military incursion, you could easily put some bloodstones on traders nearby, just in
Cool.
case they are trading with the Romans.
Cool. They
As
don't last
well-
long, but
As well as, let's see. Yeah, traders would be the big one. And maybe a few of the townsfolk, just in case, people who seem less well off or less satisfied, the types of people who can't be happy with anything.
And then one of the last things I'd like to do is I would actually like to do the Eyes of Nighthawk again. So by getting a raven, and I actually want to fly one over to Fabrizio, correct? Is that his name?
Fabrizio.
Fabrizio, yeah. In his general vicinity to start kind of understanding the surrounding areas and like who's going in and where, or just anything that I can see of that so I can report back to Bjarni so we can start formulating a plan.
So the camp you were told about when the Raven flies there is, it seems to be a center of operations. It's very busy, but it doesn't have the busyness of a leader being there by the time you send the Raven. If you'd like to do that over multiple days, we could also mention what would happen later.
Yeah.
If you'd like to send them elsewhere.
Yep.
Okay. Where would you like to send the Raven after that?
So if I'm following trader or I guess traders, that's weird. Probably like to the,
TRADERS.
yeah, those kind. Probably just like following like to the bigger boats to see like what's being traded. I'm interested to see what kind of weaponry we're up against. Just out of curiosity, they know that we exist, sort of situation.
Yeah. So most of what you see is going to be your standard metal cuirasses, metal hauberks, metal, I forget the hip one, but the hip covers as well, chainmail, some swords, but those appear to be belonging to individuals. This was a time when it was very rare for governments to sponsor soldiers. However, there is one ship out of the many that are docked near Fabrizio's camp that has a higher level of decoration on it, and it has the 13-pointed star that you've heard described. And on that ship, you do see fancier armor. It's armor that's been embossed with an image of a St. Peter's cross on a 13-pointed star with an individual crucified on said cross. And that does appear to be a fancier type of soldier.
Awesome. Well, on that bit of information, I'm gonna go seek out Bjarni.
Very quickly, since I didn't realize we had a span of time passing, I would have also sent warbands out to scout the camp to the south of us and my raven, the mulas, to survey regularly.
Absolutely.
So getting more of a lay of the land and what has changed nearby, as well as Good. No. Reaching out to potential allies. Any of the other jarls
Okay.
that I know.
Roll me a general charisma and persuasion for reaching out to the other Jarls. While you're rolling that, what your Raven does bring back to you is that the camp to the south is massive. More people than the bird could count.
Yeah.
And it does. He's smart enough to know. Thank you. He's smart enough to know that from what he saw, there's someone important in the camp to the south. With that roll of 5 successes, you are able to get a couple of other cities that are still pagan, are still Vikinger, to join you in your cause. The city is quite crowded at this point with the extra about 1,000 Vikinger from various cities who have joined your fight. Kara, would you like to do anything at the time?
Unfortunately, Kara is not a very combat-oriented character, but I guess to prepare, see if there's anything I can assist with is I could probably sense the unseen, see if there's anything spiritual or magical at play before we hit the ground running.
You said spiritual or what? Sorry?
Sense the unseen.
With Sense the Unseen, you can see all that blood magic that Yahima's putting up. She's got a lot of it.
Well,
As well. Well, oh, sorry, I wasn't done. I was just like mentioning that as well. It is bright. As well, let's see what else does Sense the Unseen show. Go ahead and roll that wits aspects.
that is 5.
Okay. So you do know for a fact there's no one obfuscated in town spying, which is good because it means that there's no one who's just hidden in town. You do see a couple of ghosts. There are people who have died here, and the ghosts sometimes linger. Other than that, yeah, most of it, from what you can tell from a strategic standpoint, the Romans who are with the Holy Roman Empire have tried to pull resources from town as much as possible. Like you see that there's no one obfuscated, there's not any spies. You do see all of Yahima's blood sorcery because that is trying to defend the town. Is there anything else you'd like to do in that meantime?
Nope, that'll be it.
All right. And at this point, would you like to attempt to defend against a siege, or would you like to attempt to take the fight to them?
I feel like we would approach this with taking the fight to them with the preparation of if we have to retreat, we can just pull back to the city and the city is ready for a siege.
All right. So how many, on top of the 500 Vikinger that were sent from the other towns, how many of your people are you taking with you?
Anyone who is willing to fight.
All right, so you're leaving behind the bakers and the candlestick makers.
Yep.
All right, taking the butchers.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right. And as you march, an army of Vikinger larger than most anyone had seen at this point in time, south. You keep going. You can, over Eden's Bounty was the ritual. I will send you the text for it if you would like it. Just a moment.
Sorry, for those who didn't see that, I was typing that I would have done that ritual as well. I just don't have the wording in front of me.
Yeah, I put it in the DM. It's from Cult of the Blood Gods.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait, where?
I put it in the Twitter DM.
Copy. Thank you.
Just so you could add it. but it's from Cults of the Blood Gods. I can't remember. I think it's on like page 57. If anyone else wants to look it up, I don't know the page number off the top of my head. But yes, so as you, on a side, as you march south toward this army, because of how many people you're taking, it does take a little bit of coordination. What is your strategy for approaching the other army, who is in preparation waiting for you? They are expecting you to march on them.
Of course they are. I would be separating. You said we had like 1,500?
You have 500 who came from other cities. You have 500 Vikinger of your own, and you have about 250 that have just signed on who think they're stalwart.
Okay, the 250 would be mixed in to so that they are both protected and able to help more. I would send about a third of our force to actually flank their encampment.
Okay.
And then it would be two-pronged for the other 2/3, so we would kind of split but still be mostly on the same approach, trying to both establish weak points, sending scouts forward as we approached, and also to establish just if they what kind of encampment they are actually willing to defend. So do they want to bring the battle to us, or are we going to attack when they least expect it, which would be my ideal. I would prefer to attack them when they are unprepared.
Based on your knowledge of combat, they appear to have set up intentionally to survive a siege. They've got essentially squadrons. They've got groups of soldiers that are clearly stationed outside of the central camp, but the central camp is surrounded by a tall wooden palisade that they have raised to keep it safe. And there's more camp outside of that. But it is a massive camp. It's about, honestly, it matches your numbers. It's about 1,500 strong. With the way that you are setting it up, they can see, they've been preparing for this. And you can see as they put, very quickly, people who are not armored in the front of the line, people with pitchforks, similar to the engineers you saw.
Yeah.
In not armored clothing, people with pitchforks, people with clubs. In the very front, you can see that they've placed more armored individuals in the back. There's no cavalry.
We would approach as stealthily as possible, for this area is heavily wooded, etc.
Mhm.
And essentially wait for them to psych them out.
Okay, are you doing anything to psych them out? Any actions?
No, like not approach. Not like avoid them noticing the full size of our force and not actually attack them, so they have to wait.
Okay. And as I recall, you don't have any metal armor in your force.
No.
Okay.
Mostly hardened leather and hide.
Yeah. So you're able to reach the edge of the woods. You can see where they've raised a large portion of forest to supply the wood for their camp, which is how warring in a forest goes. But they haven't cleared out everything. They've cleared maybe half a mile around the camp to supply all the timber they need. And you can see that the central camp itself, because of your raven, is a fossa and moina construction. It's a ditch and then a wall.
Yep. Okay.
Y'all getting some military history too.
Then we would wait, and they would be expecting an attack that doesn't come, keeping them sleepless, on edge, for an extended period of time.
Okay. Let's roll. Let's call that wits and subterfuge.
I got that in spades.
for an underhanded strategy. Oh no, I don't like that face. Oh
Six
good,
with
you
a
did
crit.
succeed. I thought you'd failed. I
6
was
with a
worried.
crit.
All right. So what you managed to pull off when people, because people will often wander away out of boredom, out of hunger, out of trying to abscond for a private evening with a friend. As they wander close to the woods, you occasionally take one, kill them, drain them.
Question them.
You're,
Question them.
yes, absolutely. You're able to learn more of their strategy. What you learn from questioning them is they say that they're led by a bishop in red. Which is odd because militaries are not usually run by religious leaders. And the bishop in red sleeps in the day and comes out and makes his orders at night. From the ones you question, you also are able to occasionally set small fires, not big ones, just enough to cause some chaos and keep them awake in the middle of the night as they try to put out a fire on one person's unfortunate tent. You shouldn't have left that fire so long, Frederick. This is what happens when you drink too much mead in the middle of a siege. You're able to keep them pretty much on their toes for 3 to 4 days before you start noticing they start mobilizing more. They start forming scouting parties who appear to be going into the woods, and these are more armored individuals. And you can hear small clashes. Swords and screams, swords and screams. You receive reports that a few have ended up dying. Sieges are brutal. At this point, it's been about a week. How would you like to proceed?
With the knowledge that they have a bishop in their midst, and we've encountered bishops before, I'm going to gather coterie. We could head in just ourselves from this bishop. Perhaps take care of the problem or any bigger. That will be very dangerous for us.
How would we find these bishop?
The same way we always do. Using our eyes and wings.
ST, real quick, would I have any suspicion that perhaps this bishop might reside in that very fancy boat?
Yes, you could have made that connection. He's not, you would not have any reason to believe he was residing in it at this point. But the conclusion you could very easily draw is that whoever he considered important to him was who he brought in that boat.
I believe that if we were to do some sort of attack, we should probably look into the larger boat that I told you about earlier.
It's worth checking. Particularly with Fia's skill, we can get there easily. Investigate. I think it's worth trying to solve this problem ourselves. Without a head dragon, will simply dissipate.
So your plan is to approach the boat and see if he is there?
Yes.
Okay. Walking quietly, and it's just the four of you. Walking quietly to the boat, you can see there's two people standing guard in front of a staircase down into the insides of the boat. These two individuals have a cross on their embellished armor. It's silvered armor. They appear to be incredibly well fed. They are clean shaven, olive skinned. And as you approach, something about the way they look at you indicates they're not really surprised you've come. And they open their arms and they say, "Come inside."
It's just, I look at the three women with me and I just nod. And I head in first.
As you walk in, a man stands over a table, middle-aged, olive tanned skin, bit of 5 o'clock shadow where he never shaved before, well, before now, at the very least. He wears a Tuketo hat that is red with a symbol of a 13-pointed star on it, and he looks at you. "Ah, buonasera, fratelli. Sorelle." When you don't recognize Italian, "Come now. My name is Fabrizio Fila, and I have a job for you." And I think that might be a great place to leave off this session. Götterdämmerung, Empire the Masquerade, 5th edition. I would like to let the players go around the table and introduce themselves and let us know where you can find them and what they might be doing next. Bjarni, unless you'd like to go last. I don't know if you have any announcements.
I do have announcements, so I will just introduce who I am, and then I will close us out at the end. So I am Ian E. Muller, founder of Gehenna Gaming. Most of you know me already. If you don't, please check us out on all things Gehenna Gaming related. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Discord, which I'll drop a link to in a second. We have a lot of really exciting stuff coming out, including an announcement tomorrow, so make sure you stick around, check out our social media, and stay tuned for that. And I'm looking forward to all of the great programming we have coming up. Next Saturday, we have a bunch of cool stuff. So I have been playing Bjarni Odinson, a fantastic Gangrel Viking Jarl who I really, really love playing, and I'm looking forward to what happens next in this series, which we will announce the 4th session of as soon as we have a date for it. But I will hand things over to our guest players, Cynthia and Erica, in whichever order you prefer.
Who you want to go first?
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Erica Fawcett, playing Kara Haraldsdottir. You can find me on Twitter at Rosie Rexit. It's on the overlay, handy. Also at ericafawcett.com. You can check out all my writing credits. I'm currently working on Scion God and a couple of other things in the pipeline that haven't been announced yet, but be on the lookout. Some great stuff is coming.
Hi y'all, I am Cynthia Marie. I play Yahima, your diurnal blood witch, Tremere. I adore playing this character so much. But anywho, if you didn't know that I played vampire, I play vampire a lot. I play Nellie G on LA by Night, and LA by Night is coming back for season 5, coming next month. Really excited, as I've been telling as many of my close friends as possible, but I'll tell you guys all, this is a season of tissue box. So hashtag tissue box, go grab those, because it is a tearjerker season, not gonna lie. It was real tough to get through, but we made it. It was really awesome to record. So yes, it's a recorded season, so we will be in chat. Most of us will be in chat at least a little bit to come support everybody, the family. We love you all very much. If you haven't seen LA by Night, go see it. It's on YouTube, on Twitch. It's all over the place. World of Darkness channel, right? Yeah. If you want to see something a little bit more lighthearted, I'm also on another vampire show called The Nightlife, where you follow baby vampires in Miami. So I play a very, very high generation Tremere who has no idea what the Masquerade is. Yeah, it's quite fun. Yeah, I first episode did Cling of the Insect in front of people. It's cute. Anyways, if you want a little bit more lighthearted fun, go check that out. That is on Renegade Games. I also sometimes pop up on Hunters Entertainment playing Outbreak Undead. So if you like zombies, you can come check that out. That is a pretty gnarly show as well. I may or may not be at Gen Con, so stay tuned, but LA by Night will be there for a live show for Gen Con if you have tickets. And I am there. I would love to see you guys. Otherwise, I have a bunch of other things that are kind of like in the mix that I can't really talk about, but check out my Twitter at SinDancer or my Instagram, Cynthia__Marie. And I usually at the last minute post everything that's happening in my life. So just like constantly just check it. All right. I love you all. And thank you again for having me. This was such a joy.
And Fiadh.
Hey, I have been Fiadh. I am Ellie Collins. I am the storyteller for ATL by Night, a V5 campaign set in the city of Atlanta. Are we on 5 or 6? I can't remember.
We're starting 6 soon.
Oh my gosh, we're starting 6. Season 6 begins in September. Super excited for it. You can catch up on our show on YouTube. If you don't have the time, we understand there's tons of streaming going on. You can actually catch up with our show Bite Notes, which summarizes every season for you, including clips and key moments from the show. I am also doing a ton of stuff here on Gehenna Gaming. You can follow me on Twitter to catch everything that I'm doing, Ellie_A_Collins. And I will actually be storytelling the finale of this Viking story, which I will say now the title of it is The One Who Mocks and the One Who Hates. So very excited to be rounding out the story for this amazing crew. It's been such a wonderful journey with them. Thank you guys.
And I have been your storyteller, Emily Thomas. I am the host of Blood Bonding for ATL by Night, which is our post-season show, and I run sound most of the time during the seasons. I also have my own Twitch channel, formerly known as Emily, and my Twitter account is FRMRLY, known as EM. They have a character limit. And you can catch me on my Twitch channel. You can catch me on ATL by Night's Twitch channel. We've got a bunch of stuff that's coming up as well that I am so hyped once we get to announce it. And it has been a joy. This has been so much fun.
Thank you so much, Emily, for running the session of our V5 Viking Saga. I had a blast. It was very interesting. And like I said, we have some really exciting announcements coming up very soon, like less than 12 hours soon. We'll be announcing some really cool stuff tomorrow morning, as well as the return of Gehenna Academy, our Monday Night Monster Hearts game, and a whole bunch of other really cool things in the very near future. So stay tuned. August, September, and October are going to be jam-packed with stuff for Gehenna Gaming. So thank you all for tuning in this evening. Hope you had fun. And stay tuned. Next Saturday we are doing, I am running a 10 Candles game for the cast of our V5 Dark Ages series, the first season. So make sure you tune in and check that out. I'm going to be running them through a fantastic, spooky, tragic horror game. That was the last thing I had to say. I forgot about that. But we're good. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a fantastic evening, and we will see you soon.